on here, and I'm going to call this special call meeting to order to discuss the items that are on the agenda. We have a special guest here today, former Representative Tim Bearden. Mr. Bearden, would you like to say anything?
I know y'all have a meeting, but I appreciate you recognizing me, Mayor and Council. I just like to say I was your state representative for 7 years. Went down to the Georgia Public Safety Training Center for several years. It was time to come back home because the kids were growing up a little bit quickly on me. But it'd be an honor to be able to serve back to the citizens of District 68 in Temple and do everything we can to help them. I'm just going to sit back. When the meeting's done, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions citizens may have or anyone from you. So just thank y'all for allowing me to be here today.
We thank you for joining us this evening. First item on the agenda, update on the report concerning the renewal of Temple's commercial insurance policy for 12 months, starting May 31st. Mr. Osborne, this is
Before we do it, can we, Mr. Watts?
Yes, sir. Okay, before we do that, we want to introduce our new codes enforcement guy, Mr. Ricky Watts here. Is everyone met Mr. Watts? This is Councilman Rockwell, Bracknell, and Walden.
I look forward to the challenge, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome. Okay, now back to item number 1, Mr. Osborne.
Yes, sir. We, of course, we're coming up on the time we need to renew our insurance policy, and of course, J. Smith Lanier and Company has worked with us on the handling of that in the past few years. And we have with us tonight Preston Hagler, and he's going to make some comments to you, and you have a booklet that he's giving you. And then after his comments and questions that you may have of him, I'll talk with you about the budget paying for the cost of the policy.
Preston.
I do appreciate y'all obviously having me tonight. If you could open to the first page, that's just to clarify, City of Temple is the only entity, and it runs actually May 30th to May 30th of the following year, 1 full year of coverage. The following page, at J. Smith Lanier, we like to keep our mission statement in all of our proposals. Through God, we service our customers, employees, suppliers, and our community. The following page is your service team. I think Ms. Pam will probably know Kathy a little better than most. Ms. Kathy's there for any concerns about adding drivers, adding autos, endorsing the policies. She's there for that, and then you've always got me there. If you look towards the bottom, you don't want to have to meet Mr. Jerry Hedgepeth. He's there for any sticky claims that we ever have. And then you've got Judy Lane in our office for if you have a bump up with the autos or anything of that nature. The following page is a schedule of the locations, 13 of them to be exact. And then you move forward, the next page is actually the commercial property page. We've got you with Selective Insurance. Again, that's who you've been with for the past few years. We have a total limit of $8,171,439 in property, and we have that what we call blanketed, which means that there's one huge pool to pull from for all of the buildings. So if one building burns down, you have the full pool to pull from instead of individual limits on each building. As you can see, we also have the flood and earthquake limits at $1 million each. We have that on replacement costs and what we call agreed value, which suspends co-insurance, which you see is none right there below, and your deductible's $2,500. This following page is the commercial property schedule with the building limits and contents. That will all add up to that 8 million figure that we had before. And y'all let me know if I'm moving too quickly or not fast enough. The following page is just definitions. Feel free to ask me questions on any of them, but the one that really concerns y'all the most would be the co-insurance. Co-insurance is a penalty for being underinsured at the time of a loss. That's why we like to keep everything blanketed, so you have that one large pool, and co-insurance is suspended. The following page is the crime coverage, which we were able to increase this year. Previously, we only had it at 100,000, and actually Ms. Ransom and I discussed this over the past year about bumping it to the 250,000 mark, but what we needed to have in place, the city did not, but since now it is being outsourced to the city of Villarica from the financial department and everything, we were able to get that limit up to the 250,000 mark where we'd like it. The following page is the commercial general liability. As you look, once again, everything's with selective. The aggregate limit is 3 million and the occurrence limit is 1 million, which means any one occurrence, you have up to $1 million in coverage, but for the full year, you do not have more than $3 million in coverage. At the bottom, that's just kind of what they're all based on. So yeah. And then also the employee benefits and then the abuse and molestation coverages are also listed right there on the general liability page. The following page is the cyber liability. That's pretty cut and dry. There's your aggregate limit of 100,000, deductible 2,500, and then that's based off the operating expenditures, which is the exposure. The following page is the pesticide herbicide liability for when you're spraying the grass and everything along those lines. $1 million occurrence, $1 million aggregate with a $500 deductible. The following page is the law enforcement liability coverage. We have a $1 million occurrence, $1 million aggregate with a $5,000 deductible. The exposures are the population and the full-time officers, which we have at 11. The next page is your public officials and employment practices liability. Public officials is you guys, and then the employment practices liability is if you're fired for being black, white, green, blue, yellow, male, female, transgendered, young, old, middle-aged. You can see, as you see, your limit's $1 million, and that's based off employee count and population. The commercial auto policy is the next page. We have $1 million liability on that one as well, and we have the hired and non-owned exposure. For example, let's say Mr. Osborne jumps in his car and he runs to the mail room for work and he T-bones someone. They will then ask, what were you in the course of doing? He was in the course of work. That's why we have the hired and non-owned exposure on there. Let's see, the following page is a list of all the vehicles along with the comprehensive deductibles and collision deductibles. Any of the ones that we do not have a model name for, that's okay because we actually have the VIN number or serial number. And we do have the two new vehicles on there as well. The following page is a driver's schedule. I know there's probably some that need to be changed on this, but that's not going to affect the premium. Obviously, if they have something bad on their driving record, we would not be able to let them drive for you, which I don't think you'd like them to drive for you either. But this is one part that I've talked to Mr. Osborne about that we'll need just to update that one. But no rush on that. The following page is the inland marine, which is your equipment. I know that the earthquake and flood are listed on there, but that's how Selective writes their policy for earthquake and flood on an inland marine basis. Contractors' equipment, which is the equipment the city owns, is at $69,300. Our list that we have adds up to that. And then if you lease or rent equipment, we have a limit of $5,000 on it with a deductible of $500. The following page is the umbrella coverage. Umbrella policy sets over the general liability, auto liability, police, professional liability, law enforcement, however you like to say it, and the public officials liability. There is no retention. And the page everybody is looking for, the premium page. Down below that total estimated premium, you can see the changes we did in 2015, which includes but isn't listed, these two buildings. You added a couple pieces of equipment, a couple autos. We actually added liability for the Humvees. And I know we added 5 police officers. I think I discussed that with Mr. Osborne. It isn't that y'all added 5 police officers. When we filled out the application last year, it only listed 5 officers, or I'm sorry, 6 officers, but we have 11. And if you look at the premiums, total premium for the year is $80,036. That is up about $3,900, which is about 5.1%. But of that, I think, what is that, 2,500, or yeah, right at 2,500 of that is because we corrected the amount of employees. So if you negate that, it's about a 1% increase, which is nothing to swallow that. I know I ran through that kind of quickly. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Yes, sir.
On the commercial property schedule, down there where it says which is the old police station, the 2 double wide
Yes, sir.
manufactured homes, please tell me that we're not insuring those for $280,000. Down at the number 11,
12.
commercial property schedule. They're listed at
$40,000 each. That's,
Are we paying a premium on that amount of $280,000?
well, it's actually,
They're just included and we don't know how much we're paying on those?
I can get you the exact number for those, but I don't know if you remember, but from the page before that, I told you it's all in a bucket. So really, you're paying on the $8,171,000 number, and though that adds up to it.
But if we could reduce it by $280,000, it would help the premium, though, right?
Yes, it would bring it down a number. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Let me look at the premium page.
I can't imagine why we would need them covered for over $250,000.
Well, so when we took over the policy, we kind of, the simple term is apples to apples. So we keep everything where coverage is. From an insurance standpoint, we would never reduce coverage. So until someone tells us to lower the limit on the building, we would never do that. Do you see what I'm saying? I understand where you're coming from. I've taken pictures of all of them. I totally understand what you're saying. But yes, that would, in simple terms, yes, it would reduce the premium.
I think we need to look at that, man.
And I believe that those will be vacant at some point soon, I believe.
Well,
Or hope, excuse
we've
me.
got the main thing right now is, of course, there's a lot of records still stored that need to relocate. And, but hopefully, not too distant future, we will have everything out.
You recommend we need to leave them on there for now?
Not knowing what the type of value we need to put on whatever records are there.
Well, the contents aren't covered anyway, it's zero contents.
Yes.
So that being the case, the buildings themselves have no real
No
value.
value.
Okay. Well, if you'd like, I can reduce that. All it will do is bring the premium down obviously will not take it up. And, Mr. Osborne, if you would, just, or I'll shoot you an email tomorrow just saying, hey, just respond and let me know that we need to reduce the coverage on those.
Is that something we need to vote on?
I think probably since it's on your property schedule now and disposal of city property, has to be a vote of council. I'm not sure, Mr. Perry, we just need to totally take them off or whether we should do that or just put it very low value.
We need, I mean, if it's still our property, we probably need to put a real low value, because next thing we know, something could happen on one of those pieces of property.
Break in there and
Yeah,
get hurt.
and it's not listed on schedule.
Was the property listed separately from the buildings? Like that
The
address?
land?
Yeah, the land.
No, so what we are insuring with those numbers is the actual, call it brick and mortar. I know those are mobile units, but that's what we are insuring for the actual. As the mayor said, somebody walks in, trips and falls along those lines, that kind of thing.
Breaks in.
Yeah.
Breaks in. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly.
Some ambulance chasing lawyer,
Some lawyer get hold of that.
Did that answer your question correctly?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. If it'd be okay with you and the council, then we'd like to leave them on, but I'll give it to the city attorney and we'll look at what would be a lower figure that would make sense, that then it could be included in what's turned in by Mr. Hagley should we use our premium slide.
And then, last thing I was going to say is I spoke to Mr. Osborne about this. The workers' comp insurance renews as of 1/1, and I believe y'all are with Germa on that as well. I spoke with him and just kind of wanted to ask if maybe J. Smith Lanier would have the opportunity to work on the workers' comp as it comes up. Y'all are with Germa, have been since before I joined on with y'all to work on the commercial insurance side of things. And I don't know if y'all know it, but Germa there's one pool with one number that they put out. So we would be able to go to any of the markets that would be willing to write you outside of their pool, just to give a little comparison. But we'd ask for that. And then also, who couldn't be here tonight, Jared Hawley works on the benefits side of things. I believe y'all are with them as well on that, and that's a 1/1, and we'd love the opportunity to work on that as well as it comes up, with your blessing, of course.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Osborne?
If I can get you, I think this was the information that we put on your, on the table. We should have something that says commercial liability insurance policy, today's date, the memo, and simply points out to you that in your current budget, under each department, you have a line item liability insurance. And if you add all of those up on the general fund and water and sewer fund, as you can see, that will add up to $75,400, which actually is about $720 less than our current premium is. If you look at what Mr. Hagley has talked about on the new premium, basically we're looking at about a $4,000 increase, of which $2,500 of that is in law enforcement liability. In that, I did an explanation in the last paragraph. If you remember at your meeting back earlier this month, I had given you an attachment that showed the different forms that we filled out to give to J. Smith Lanier so they could work with the insurance company in coming up with premium costs. And last spring when this was filled out, There was about 3 questions, and there had been a misunderstanding made by the staff that filled them out then, thinking that they were trying to identify among your ranking officers which of them had basically on the street duties. I did the same thing when I filled it out this time, but in talking with Preston, realized what they really were looking for was the total number of officers that we had. And that's the reason that last year what was turned in was 5, and what we're turning in this year is the correct number of 11. Well, adding those 5 officers, you had that many more people that had to be covered, and that's the reason for the increase in the policy. Now, we don't have to cover all of that out of this year's budget, because keep in mind, we're on a calendar year basis with our fiscal year, and this policy is end of May to the end of next May. We really need to cover only 7/12 of the amount that is the difference between what we have an increase from in the premium, and that's about $2,700. And as you know, I have the authority to approve transfers within the department budget, and I will be getting with Chief Lee, and I'm sure that within the police department budget, we can figure out how to transfer $2,700 from one or more line items in the police department to go into the police department's liability insurance line item, and that will cover the amount we need the premium cost. And the increase, as I say, in the premium cost basically is because of we had underreported inadvertently last year the number of police officers to be covered. There are questions concerning the budget aspect of this, and we're glad to try to respond.
So basically, with that, then we're covered, and all we need is a motion to.
We've got later in your meeting, depending on how y'all want to deal with it, we had put this as a report, just to update what we've given you before, but under new business. But I would point out, if you look at the first page, based on what Mr. Hagler said, under new business number 3, make this for a 12-month period starting May 30th rather than May 31st. So when we come to that, if you'd simply make that.
So we talked about it now, and we passed a resolution later.
That's up to the mayor and the council as to
Down under new business. Okay, item number 2, Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir. Your next tab, we had talked in the past about the fact that we needed to deal with how do we come up with funds to be able to do the final topping in these partially developed residential subdivisions that we have here in the city of Temple. And of course, a number of other places have had to deal with the same things, where you had subdivisions starting, the economic recession hit, developers, in some cases, financial institutions went belly up, and we ended up with subdivisions with just a very few houses and a lot of underground infrastructure that had been put in that got the name pipe farm simply because of the pipe sticking out of the ground and didn't get connected. We've looked at what we might do on this and trying to give you some options to look at. Back a couple of months ago, first of March, or end of March rather, I had given you one approach that we might take. I have included in your workbook tonight what Paulding County did about 4 years ago to try to get a handle on this. The city of Villa Rica did something playing off of what Paulding County has did, and the last thing under this tab is that I got a couple of days ago was from the city of Villa Rica. The main thing tonight I want to call your attention to is you will flip over about the 5th page under this attachment, and you will find a proposed resolution that later in your meeting we'll ask you to consider adopting. And this is a resolution to impose a 45-day moratorium on the issuance of residential building permits. The reason for proposing to you that we do this 45-day moratorium is to give you an opportunity to think about what alternatives you want to look at, and then maybe decide if you want to do something to generate some income that would enable you to have money to cover certainly a significant part of the cost of the final topping on these streets. And you know better than I, if you go in our partially built out subdivisions, you've got that base that was put on that's wearing out, manhole covers stick up because you don't have a final topping on because the subdivision is not near completion. And so wanted you to have a discussion and decide what you want to do on that. But the other is that we are beginning to see some new activity locally on the construction. What I didn't want to do is for us to announce over the next 45 or 60 days we're going to be looking at this, and the developer come in and buy a bunch of permits before we have had a chance to decide what you want to do. Because bottom line is, what we don't get assistance from the builders and the people who will be buying those lots, is that it ends up falling on the city's shoulders in the long run. So I'm open to answer questions tonight, but the resolution basically simply points out that we do have a number of subdivisions that were unfinished at the time of the economic downturn, that we do want to look at having an addition to be considered to the building permit that would help pay the cost of the final layer of pavement on these unfinished streets. That we feel like it'll take a little time to get public input on that and decide what you want to do. I think if we come up with a plan, this would show the city's interest in fairness for current and future property owners in these unfinished subdivisions. So we're proposing adoption of the resolution to do the 45-day moratorium. And like I say, if there are questions, I'd be glad to try to respond.
Any questions for Sean?
I will add that I brought this same thing up 2 years ago, and it was the Baldwin County project improvement fee. At that time, there was virtually nothing going on, so we didn't, we kind of laid it to the side. I brought it back up a little later, so I've kind of tried to keep it alive, for the last 2 years. But you're right, now it's time that we take some action on it. And I like what Bill Rica has done. They have made theirs so it's not as complex as what Baldwin County is. And the project improvement fee I like because it includes infrastructure rather than just asphalt. It includes the water, the sewer, water meters, lights, and all that. And the good thing about doing a project improvement fee, as long as you've got the ordinance in place, you don't have to go out and assess each subdivision at that time. You can wait until there's activity in one. If there's not activity in one for 5 years, you can wait 5 years to go do the assessment. And you just take action on the ones that are active now. So I like that.
Okay, move right along to new business, authorize the purchase of a new truck used for City of Temple Public Works Department, being a F-350 for the county, or BD equivalent model. Dwayne's not here, so Mr. Osborne.
Yes, sir. If you will go back, you will find memos and information that Mr. Everhart put together, and he and I have been working on this. Bottom line is that you put $40,000 in the budget this year, knowing that we needed to replace his truck. This old truck has reached the point, the doors are about to fall off, and we feel like we need to go ahead and do something. This would be a crew cab truck looking for the diesel. What we did was we got quotes from, originally we got quotes from Pioneer Ford, from Don Rich, and from Hardy. We went back and to see if we could find anything with on used trucks, and the only thing we found was actually 2016 was a used, but it was one of the most expensive that we looked at. We were looking for a diesel that would provide the durability on it. What I gave you as we put out on the table that you may or may not have put in your books is that we did hear back this afternoon from Hardy. We were trying to get the best price they would give us, and it is the lowest price. And what you will find on my memo from me to you, if you want to move forward on this, the price from Hardy is $45,365. A few $100 higher is Don Rich. And both of those are basically the same. $46,000 for the Dodge Ram, that's the used 2016, and then the high was from Pioneer Ford in Bremen, 46,316. And then how we would pay for this, if you want to move forward with it, is that we do have in the budget the $40,000 for the vehicle. We couldn't find a vehicle for the 40 that's higher than that unless we go back to the drawing boards. So, but wanted tonight to present for your consideration of pulling $5,365 out of the other capital project in the Public Works budget. You had budgeted $25,000 this year to part of a continuing long-range replacement of water meters that would reduce us down from 25,000 to slightly below 20,000 this year. But to replace our water meters, you're talking about probably at least $250,000. So whether we do $25,000 in replacement meters this year, 20,000, frankly, there's not going to be much difference in that in terms of the big picture. Though I do hope we can get some assistance from the Georgia Environmental Facilities Authority on helping us with our water meter replacement program. No guarantees there. But what you got in front of you is from a staff standpoint of needing a vehicle. I support Mr. Everhart's recommendation that we go with the low bid from Hardy. Be glad to respond to questions.
I hear a motion. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This truck from Don Rich Ford out in Bella Rica, this quote that we have here, now we could come in under budget because we could get a gasoline engine for $8,500 less. So there's enough money to do what we need to do, just not what we want with the diesel. Not have to go changing things up. I mean, I don't know how, I listened to you say you can take it from here and put it here, but are we dead set on having a diesel? Because the money's here to buy a truck, the truck that we need, want. Factory warranty is going to be about the same on whether we get a gas motor or a diesel motor, am I correct?
I think that's correct. I'm simply, I'm sorry that Dwayne's not here. As I say, he had a family situation tonight, but his preference was for one with a diesel engine, believing that that would take more wear and tear and in the long run would serve us better. But I don't claim to be an automotive person, but simply presenting his recommendation. I would say if you're not comfortable with the recommendation and you want to pursue that, it may be that we want to delay a couple of weeks until your regular meeting on June the 6th. Whatever y'all's
Well,
preference.
I'm tired of delaying things, and I'd like to help Wayne out, but I guess with him not being here to tell me why he needs a diesel. I mean, you're buying a 2017 top quality, top of the line truck, whether it's gas or diesel. I would rather come in under budget and have to go change the budget around. And that's just, I'm not a truck expert either, but I know that buying a brand new Ford truck is gonna live out its warranty. We're not gonna put the miles on it before it extends the time. So.
And the only thing I can say is that I raised the same questions with him in looking at $8,500. My question to him was, how long of delay that they were going to have to order that? How long would it be before we would get it? And I can't answer that question. So I guess, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that if y'all are comfortable with moving ahead with this, fine. If you want to wait a couple of weeks and get a better explanation from Ms. Everhart before you make a decision, I can understand that totally.
I mean, I want to listen to everybody, but that's just.
I had questions for Dwayne, such as, why do we need a 350 four-wheel drive 2017 truck for a service truck? Are we pulling a backhoe with it? Do you know?
We do have a backup.
Thought we went with a dump truck.
I thought we pulled that backhoe with a dump truck, that's the reason
We
we're buying the dump.
do now because we didn't used to have a dump truck.
Right. I would like to see us exhaust all our avenues on, a late model used one and stay in budget, if that's possible. But I'm tired of delaying things, but I just want to look out for the taxpayers, and try to stay within budget.
Yes, sir.
Does 2 weeks make that big a difference?
I would not think so.
I mean, I don't see that as a delay. If we're looking at $8,500, it looks to me like 2 weeks isn't really a delay. To be able to get the answer to that.
Well, I think the main thing is being able to get the answers that you're looking for, which I can't answer those questions at this time.
Isn't that service truck the one that takes the most abuse when the shovels thrown in the back of it and hauling around the muddy pipes and all that stuff? Hauling the equipment around those.
They need to fix water lines and stuff. They got all of that, a lot of that kind of stuff in the farm road.
Yeah, I want to have some, something dependable. I'm not so sure we need a
Brand new.
$40,000, $50,000 vehicle to throw shovels in. That's just my opinion.
Well, all I need is a motion one way or the other.
I'll make a motion that, since it's only 2 weeks, that we wait 2 weeks to get the answers to the councilman's
Got a
questions.
motion, Mr. Bracknell, to wait for 2 weeks to
I'll
get.
wait till our regular council meeting.
Wait till our regular council meeting to get these answers. Here, second. Second, Mr. Wall. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Number 2, Mr. Osborne, said we were talking about that.
Yes, we would like to delay on that. We have interviewed 3 individuals, but we still need to check references and have some additional discussion. And all 3 of these individuals, they're not, they will be just as available the 1st of June as they are now, in my opinion. So we'd like to delay that till June 6th.
I make a motion to table that.
Mr. Brown, shall table that to the next meeting here second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Walton, any discussion?
I have a question about
Yes,
this
sir.
for Mr. Osborne. I wasn't even aware that we were hiring for this position. I check our website quite frequently. And I read in our stuff that it's advertised. So my question is, where is it advertised?
And Kristen, you may be able to help me out with this. I know that we, locally, we posted it. I know that I know we had the state labor department, we had it listed with them. And I'm thinking we did have it on our website.
The website, it was posted in the
I haven't
building
seen it
and
on the
then
website.
the Georgia Department of Labor.
Okay, that answers it. Thank you.
And it was up for 2 weeks. It was
Okay.
posted.
Okay, got a motion, second, any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, item number 3, to approve the continuation of the City of Temple's commercial insurance policy with selective insurance company for a 12-month period starting May the 30th. Should that be J. Smith, Lanier, or
So they're basically handling for us, but it's with
Okay.
the.
Do I hear a motion?
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Brown, here a second.
But there's one thing, do we need to have in this motion, that we're going to look at the police facility before?
Possible revisions.
Possible revision to the police facility.
Okay.
That motion with that in there. we're going to-
Here a second to Mr. Bracknell's motion.
I'll second.
Got a second, Mr. Rockwell, any discussion? All in favor?
If we could put the word former police department facility. So we keep it on.
The abandoned police.
Don't abandon the one across the street. Okay.
That makes
Former police department.
sense. That makes sense.
Okay, we voted, didn't we?
No, we got to vote.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's adopted. Okay, adopt a resolution to impose a 45-day moratorium on the issuance of residential building permits by the City of Temple.
Can I ask a question before we get to that?
Yes, you
About
can.
that?
Yes, you can.
All right. Here is, and I heard exactly what Mr. Walden had said. You know, this is something that's come up, and it's come up. I think that what I was hearing Mr. Walden say was that we want action. So what I want to know is exactly, if I vote to put this 45-day moratorium on, I want to know what kind of timeline I'm looking at, and what does that timeline include? I mean, I honestly thought with that being on the agenda tonight, that we were going to actually get ideas of what we wanted so that the attorney could start the process. But it sounds like we just stated that we want to do it again, and it's going downhill. And I think, and Mr. Walden is right. He introduced this 2 years ago, and it's just been. And what are we going to have a public hearing and get people to come in, or are we going to? What is going to be the process? Does that make sense?
You got 45 days to figure out exactly what you
All right.
want to do.
So
We can have work sessions, we can have whatever the council's desires.
okay, all right.
Without this, then
But
you
we got,
schedule.
the whole thing is, though, with 45 days, we don't need to come, we're not going to extend it, I assume not going to extend it 45 days. So that means that we got to jump quick, because we got to be able to have some type of public hearing or something to give the public.
But this is a resolution.
To just, all that's doing is just holding us for 45 days, but it's still, I want to make sure that we don't delay this again. I mean, within 45 days, it is my desire that
we're not inventing anything terribly new.
Right, it's a matter of just coming up with, I mean,
Villa Rica was worse off than Temple.
sure,
And Paulding County, of course, was the mecca of pipe farms.
right.
So, you know, what we've got in that 45 days is to come up with a plan to mix and match and everybody be on the same page as to what Temple's going to do for their eight unfinished subdivisions.
Right, but my deal is, I want a timeline.
45 days.
But we want an ordinance in place by 45 days, not just talk about it up to 45 days and then start an ordinance.
You see what I'm saying?
You know,
I mean, we gotta come back and say, look, if, you know, we can't start working on the ordinance, it looks like Villa Rica's, or, you know, something of that fact. And we had this on the table long enough that we could at least give some direction along that line, right, Ms. Hoffman?
Well,
To tell him to get us that ordinance ready.
you and Councilman Walden are correct, that we're looking at wrapping it up within 45 days. So that 45 days, you've got something in place, and then you would be able to start issuing building permits.
So by the next council meeting, we have a framework of an ordinance to look at?
I think we need to hear from you, and you may want to hear from the citizens on any input. I would say that what we're talking about is taking action prior to or not later than your meeting on July the 5th.
But now, I'm sorry,
No,
it's still on the same question.
You're still
We gotta have time to have the ordinance developed. We gotta have time for the 2 reads. And then this isn't one of those things where it would be an emergency that we needed to do. So, see what I'm saying? We're gonna have to have a bunch of call meetings if we're not careful.
Well, I would assume that we would have a special call meeting sometime in the middle of June, the 20th of June, somewhere along in there for your first read, which means that,
Okay,
that we're gonna need something
We're gonna
early
have to,
June.
yeah,
be
you're gonna
ready
have to have
do the public
something to
hearing.
know what to go in there. Okay.
That's easy.
Huh?
I mean, we got probably one of the best there is right there.
Right.
Well, Bill Ricker,
Yeah.
I'm good with Bill Ricker.
I am too. That's the reason I'm saying, I don't know that it looks like maybe we need to say this is what we're patterning it after, and then invite, you know, some way to let the subdivision, I don't know, who would have the most interest in this? The developer, not the people who live there, because this is not going to impact someone who already lives there.
It's going to impact them because they may get their street fixed.
Fixed, but right, absolutely, but what I'm saying is that, you know, as far as getting interest in people coming in and telling us what they think, it's not going to impact them, so they're not, other than telling us we want our street paved, like the mayor says, so that we could pretty well, you know, all of us be ready to look at this at the council meeting, at a regular council meeting, and to have that first read ready to go. I mean, I don't see where there would be a lot of controversy with this.
Probably, I think that if you're saying that you would like us to try to have something ready for you to consider before your June 6th meeting, I'm sure we can.
I think that, I mean, I don't want to put any words in Mr. Walden's mouth, but I think that's what the whole purpose of this is to have it ready to go, not.
When the moratorium was lifted, it needs to be ready to go.
Ready to go. So that's what I think that, you know, that's what I envision, this, having this, if the city attorney says this is good, we've read it, we like it, the mayor likes it, it sounds to me like it's time that we just have it on the agenda at the regular council meeting. So that was the question I had, but I think Mr. Walton had one follow.
And it will do nothing but benefit the people, taxpayers, it'll take the load off of
I've talked to citizens who don't want to wait 45 days. They're telling me that They don't want the 45 days. We want to act, you want to act, so why do we have to have 45 days?
Well,
'Cause,
45 days is the length of the moratorium. If you want to cut the moratorium off before you get to the 45 days, you can do that. But it does give us, in case there's something unexpected.
We don't want
happen.
somebody coming in here and we don't have a policy.
Right, but we have people, we have a developer who's already purchased,
I know.
okay?
And this is
You know what I would
fix
do if
that.
I was a developer? I'd tell y'all, I'd sell them off back. Because now we're playing, Mr. Baldwin brought this up 2 years ago. It should have been addressed, it's just been tabled or put off. And now all of a sudden, we have some interest. It's almost like, you know,
He's purchasing them, right?
And purchase permits, that's the.
he's purchased the lots.
Yeah.
But probably he had an attorney, did some research on what do we charge for building permits, before they made that purchasing decision. And now we're changing the game midstream.
The city council has the authority to do this. This is the city, as people, as the council is elected to govern the city and take care of this. We have the authority to do a 45-day. And when you do this with a resolution, it has to be read, advertised, and then it has to be reread. And if Kate has got one there that he says is ready to go, I assume he could have us an ordinance ready by council meeting night. It could be the first read, then we could have the public hearing, like so many days between the public hearing before you can vote on this thing too. Mr. Bradford.
Along that line, when we're talking about the moratorium and what can happen in here, is that we can't just jump and do something quick. 45 days is a relatively short period of time compared to 2 years. And I think any and everybody would understand the fact that, you know, you got a subdivision that somebody has bought lots. They're not a contractor coming in. They're looking at lots. And I guarantee you there are a lot of people out there looking at a way to take advantage of the citizens of Temple. Because if we don't get this moratorium in place and if we don't get this ordinance passed, anybody can come in here and just build houses, and when it's all over with, we'll have to go in and do every bit of the work and pay for it out of the taxpayers. So I don't look at this as delaying something. Again, I look at it as giving us a chance, giving us 45 days to get our ordinance in place.
Council does not pass this resolution tonight, the builder can come in here in the morning and start paying for permits, so it's up to the council.
All right, we'll come in.
Yes, sir.
And I support the builders, I appreciate what they're doing, but they are the ones that have bought these lots for like 7 and 8 cents on the dollar.
And it's the, I have never felt like that the people of this town, the citizens of this town, should be subsidizing builders out there. They should pay their own way. And Mr. Counselor, are you ready to read this resolution?
Yeah.
Do we vote for it first, or do we make a motion?
Well, let him read it and then we will, it's short.
A resolution to impose a 45-day moratorium on issuance of residential building permits. Whereas the city of Temple is considering an additional component to its residential building permit fee, which is charged for the construction of housing units to be located in those subdivisions which had been approved by the city of Temple prior to the calendar year 2014 and which have not been completed, including placement of the final layer of pavement on the streets in said subdivisions. And whereas the purpose of charging and collecting this additional amount from the builder at the time she secures a residential building permit is to assist in paying the cost of applying the final layer of pavement on the currently unfinished streets in that specific residential subdivision. So this expense is borne by the owners of the properties on which new houses are to be constructed, instead of said expenses having to be paid by the city of Temple from its general fund. And whereas we believe it is in the best interest of the city of Temple and the property taxpayers throughout this municipality for the mayor and city council to have a 45-day moratorium on the issuance of residential building permits in order A, for public input to be received prior to a decision being made by the city council, and B, to preclude any builder from buying a multiple number of these building permits before a new component is added to the residential building permit fee, thus avoiding responsibility for completion of the paving of subdivision streets and in thereby shifting said cost to current property taxpayers through this municipality. And whereas such a plan would demonstrate the city of Temple's interest and fairness for current and future property owners in these unfinished subdivisions, where the purchasers of houses in these subdivisions several years ago paid their pro rata share of the overall cost of the specific subdivision's completed street system when they bought their respective lot and houses. Now therefore be it resolved by the Temple Mayor and City Council that an immediate 45-day moratorium be initiated on issuance of any residential building permits in the city of Temple, and that during said moratorium, the city's elected officials shall consider options for possibly implementing an additional component to its residential building permit fee to assist in paying for remaining street improvements and related improvements in those unfinished residential subdivisions approved by the city of Temple prior to the calendar year 2014. In witness whereof, this resolution has been duly adopted by the mayor and council of the city of Temple, Georgia on the blank day of May 26th.
Hear a motion, please.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Real quick. In that last paragraph where it says remaining street improvements and related improvements, is that going to cover all the infrastructure?
That's the amendment.
That was the intent to cover the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking water lines, sewer lines, water meter houses, stop signs.
Well, we're talking, everything, gutters, from the gutters to the swimming pool to everything in
Okay,
between.
okay, that's good. All right.
Hear a motion, we approve this resolution.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, Mr. Wallen, here second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bracknell. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got one opposed here, two for us, need three. Okay,
Was it those in attendance?
okay, we had two voted for this motion, one voted against it, no, we need that three. Okay, so I guess the motion dies, so I guess we'll have builders here tomorrow. Do I hear a motion with adjourn?
Yeah, so one thing before we do,
Yes, sir.
and I don't want to belabor with the council, Roswell, but if we're going to be looking at changing our ordinances, the only way to prevent a builder from coming in here tomorrow and jumping the gun is for us to put a moratorium until we get this in place. Is it the moratorium that you have a problem with, or is it the length of time of the moratorium?
Well, it's the moratorium. I could deal with a shorter moratorium.
So if this
To
moratorium was
make
30
things
days,
quicker.
if this moratorium was 30 days, would it be agreeable to you?
I mean, we have, Mr. Osborne gave us in our books three things, three possible ways to go. Why do we need to hold off? If you guys want to make a decision, let's make a decision. 45 days is basically just spitting in that builder's face that just bought those properties. That's the way I see
But
it.
if that builder comes in tomorrow and buys permits on all those lots, we're spitting in the face of the taxpayers of Temple.
Right.
Not the taxpayers that I spoke with.
They're gonna end up paying for the pavement.
See, the way it is now, if a builder comes in and builds a house in that subdivision, it's going to be able to get that street paved. Those people who move in those subdivisions come to us and say, we want our street paved. We have to go back in here and look in the budget and figure out how we're going to get the money to pay for paving that street. If it were a builder who had all of those lots the builder would be taking into consideration all of this, and the lot would be sold including that. But with it belly up, it's individuals that are buying the lots, not developers. So there's no mechanism in place to collect the amount of money that is needed to be able to pave those streets. What he's doing is, if that cost is per lot is $2,500, if he knows the city of Temple is now going to pay that $2,500, he can discount that lot for $2,500. And he makes, he makes some money, and it costs the taxpayers. So all we need in place is just 45, we need in place a period of time.
Where's it costing the taxpayers?
Because the taxpayers will have to pay the
What have
road.
we been doing for the last 7 years?
There's been no builders.
They're not paying.
There's been no economy.
Right, and there's nobody in that subdivision.
Right.
But the minute there are actually people living in those subdivisions, more than 3 or 4, they're going to be here demanding that we pave their streets. I mean, I would, if I lived on a street like that exists in these subdivisions, and I mean, they're already, I don't know about you, but I have been hit by probably everybody that lives in one of these subdivisions, asking when on earth are they going to get their streets paved. And right now, they don't have the numbers. But if you move 75 families in there, they're going to have the numbers to be at the city council meeting and demanding it.
So,
and then the city would have to come up with whatever it costs to pay a mile or 2 miles of road in there. The city would have to come up with that. The sidewalks, every bit of that, all of that infrastructure inside that subdivision, we would have to take it out of the budget or out of the taxpayers' money to pay for it. That means you and I would have to pay for that street to be paved.
that's
Right
what you've
now-
been trying to do for the last 6 months, is to get some money to pay those things.
Right, but now, if we have this moratorium and we can get this ordinance in place, then we will be able to charge that to the person who's buying the lot and building the house.
Just like the other people who bought those lots in there, they paid for the
They
streets being
paid for
topped.
that to be done.
Sure.
Their developer went belly up.
Right.
So now we can't.
I'm very well aware and understand what's going on. But I want you to be well aware and understand that if there's going to be an ordinance ready on June 4th, why do we have to put a moratorium on it?
Because we don't want
We
somebody.
don't want somebody coming in to buy the permits.
Buy the permits. I mean, technically, a builder who's got enough money to buy 65 lots has the money to come in here and buy 65 permits if they know that if they know that price is going to triple.
Sure. And just like being a purchaser of a home, I personally wouldn't buy a home where the subdivision wasn't finished. I drove through Perennial Park last week, and it's terrible. The roads are horrible in there. I wouldn't buy a house in there with the road being that way, as the purchaser. So as a purchaser who researched my purchase and said, okay, well, I'm going to buy these because the building permits are only this much. And now all of a sudden, and I understand what the mayor told me, we have that authority to change the game on people. I'm just not willing to
So what you're gonna have is you're gonna have 65 lots of slum. Because people will live there.
We're going to have it ready in June.
But we gotta have two,
To
you want 30 days?
Will 30 days work for you if it changes from 30 to 45? I mean, from 45 to 30?
You have to have time to put this ordinance.
30 days would give us, if we had a call meeting 30 days, and 30 days make it work for you?
We see a lot of each other in the next month.
Yeah. 30 days work for you?
Mr. Osborne, did you want me to say something?
Well, I was just looking at, when I asked Councilman Buffett, what would be the length of the moratorium you would be willing to accept?
Well, I don't understand. I mean, I understand that the builder could come up here tomorrow if we don't have a moratorium.
Right.
So, I mean, I get that. I just don't understand the need to, I don't think it's fair to change the game on somebody.
Well, the bottom line is that, let's say in just in round numbers, that it's gonna cost $500,000 citywide to do the final topic. Now, if we don't ever do anything to, on what we're talking about now, then the city's gonna have to find $500,000 to do the final
To
topic.
do every subdivision or do the one?
No. for
Because
all-
we're about to have an
all the
ordinance in place for all the rest of them.
But if we've got a way so that the people who are moving into these subdivisions, if that's the price of, that they're paying, they pay or the taxpayers overall pay.
So,
So would you be willing to do a moratorium for 30 days or something if?
Well, if we're gonna have something ready by our June 4th meeting, that's 17 days.
And that's the first read,
You gotta have a second read.
and a public meeting.
And a public
But if we
meeting.
give it 45 days and then something happens and we don't act on it, then it could turn into 90 days. It could turn into 2 years.
Only if we vote for it. Only if we vote
If you
for it.
do another resolution, there
You
you
can't
go.
extend that resolution, whatever, if you say 30 days and we go 30 days and we say 45, that cannot be extended without coming back and having another vote of the council. So with 30 days, make it.
It makes it a little more,
So would you vote
Stomachable.
for it if we changed it?
it makes it a little more stuff, you know. I'm here to do
But
it.
I mean, how will 30 days, do y'all have
Yes.
another meeting, tomorrow, on, this thing?
It takes it, I will.
One Saturday or
If it takes it, I will, Mr. Mayor.
whatever,
I think I'm that much waiting on this.
Kate, do you remember the resolution has to be read? And then I think, is it 2 weeks before, after you read the resolution, that you have the public hearing?
If you read the ordinance.
After reading
I
the
think
ordinance,
that's
I
right.
mean,
Let me
yeah.
pull it up.
Yeah, because we're changing, no, we're not changing the zoning ordinance, are we?
No, we're changing, there is rules on adopting an ordinance. You have to have a first reading.
But you don't
And then
have to
I
have a
think
public hearing on
Gotta
it.
have 2 weeks, yes.
No, you don't have to, on an ordinance, you have to have a public hearing?
Yes, sir.
We've been adopting ordinances without,
No, sir.
yeah,
No, sir. We're having public hearings.
That's part of your first read.
is that,
Have a first read, a public hearing, and then I think it may be 2 more weeks before you can have the second read, and at the second read, you can vote to adopt it.
we got enough time before we had 30 days.
It's a little work than that.
I mean, to get it in place, I'm willing to do whatever.
This has already failed tonight, we can hire him to do it.
Yeah, but you can read, this is the same item. Because the meeting did not say a 30-day. The advertisement didn't say a 45-day.
I tried to bring it up in discussion. So it wasn't a big shock when I didn't vote for it. I don't think so.
It says a resolution to impose in 45 days.
Mr. Attorney, can we bring it back up?
Let me do one thing at a time. I'm not ambidextrous.
So,
It's like 14 days.
in between first reading.
Well, we do the public hearing on the first reading, right?
Right.
And we advertised it, and then we could just wait another 14 days, do the second reading, and come right back and adopt it.
Okay. We can have the public hearing before we read the ordinance.
No, well, last time we had the public meeting at the same time, didn't we? That's what we did last time.
We need 37.
So that's our first read, public hearing, at the same time.
37 days.
On the budget,
But are you sure?
we had, let's see,
We don't have public hearing at 6 and then the meeting at 6:30.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
And we're gonna have a public hearing on the ordinance that we have not read.
No, we're gonna have to read the ordinance and have a public hearing. That's what we're gonna do.
Okay, read the ordinance at a public hearing and have the first read ordinance at the council meeting.
Yeah,
And would you, Jim, or call me?
I mean, we gotta do it within 30 days. I mean, we do it in June. We do it June, was it 6th?
We haven't set a moratorium yet at all.
I know, that's one of
But,
them.
but wait a minute, so how many days is it, Jim, the 17 days? And then you gotta have 14, so that's 31 days, so the moratorium would have to be at least 31 days. And then everything would have to fall exact.
What can we do, sir?
What do we want to do? I mean, I have it ready tonight. You know, that's the thing, I have it ready.
Well, let's do it.
You
But it's
can't,
gotta be advertised.
It's gotta be advertised, I know, just like the budget stuff.
you
And
can't.
Pam got that out there immediately. So, so you're saying it's 31 days that we'd have to do
It would take us at least 31 days if the first read was the
it June the
6th.
6th.
Right, 17 days to the 6th, correct. If I counted that right.
All right. So we have it on the 6th. And then we go 7,
I've got an idea.
14.
We could come back that next Wednesday and have another call meeting. We could deal with Dwayne's truck and we could deal with first read of this ordinance. And then in 30 days would give us a chance. Because 2 weeks, that wouldn't give us 2 weeks to the meeting, would it?
No,
Tuesday night would give us 2 weeks, wouldn't it?
Tuesday night, yes.
So we could actually have a call meeting Tuesday night and do the first read and then be ready to vote on it at the regular council meeting. Can you have?
14 days.
14 days. That would, the 14th day would be the 7th.
14th day would be, Monday would that do it?
No, Monday would be the 13th day.
No, I'm talking about,
Monday is Memorial Day.
next Monday's not Memorial Day.
Next Monday's not Memorial Day.
Can we do, I mean, next Monday, if we had the meeting, take this time to advertise it?
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Because you can do the first read of an ordinance, you can make a change between the first read and the second read, correct?
we have it to you tomorrow, and it'll be in the newspaper the next day.
We publish, the Temple newspaper publishes once a week, sir,
What day?
on Thursdays.
But Times Georgian's the legal organ.
Yeah.
So, there's not, is there a Times Georgian on Friday, or there's not one on Friday or not one on Saturday? Which one
There's
is it?
not one on Saturday or on Monday.
Okay, so get it in there Friday.
And do it Monday?
Good.
Get it in there Friday and have the first read Monday and the public hearing Monday.
And then would you go with a moratorium for 30 days?
Yes.
All right. So could we change this and read that? Or would he have to change his vote on what we've already voted?
Or do we have to have another special call meeting tomorrow?
Mr. Attorney?
Well, this is a brain twister here. I don't think we have to have another specially called meeting tomorrow. Now, we would, well, I mean, we'd have to have a whole new resolution.
You can't just read it and change the time.
I can do it,
Well, can you change your vote?
For 30 days, sure.
but it's not, but the 30 day, there's not a 30 day on the agenda.
It's a 45 day.
So,
You can't amend the agenda.
Gentlemen did, so,
You either have
see
to,
y'all tomorrow.
but you can't do a call meeting tomorrow, can you?
Right, have 24-hour notice. Better hurry, we can't have it before 6:15, 6:30.
Seven, son.
Question, Mr. Attorney. If we pass the point, if Councilman Rothwell were to say, okay, I'm gonna trust y'all to do what you said you're gonna do. So could he change his vote and vote in favor, so it would approve, but then with us, so that gives you a 45-day moratorium at the moment, but then we proceed to speed it up, at even,
I guess in essence, he could withdraw his nay. He could withdraw his nay vote, but I would still have to, we'd still have to have the 30-day moratorium there. We've got two council
No,
members.
if he were to agree to the 45 day. You wouldn't have, if he changed.
Oh, if he agreed to the 45 days,
He could
but
change
then we
his
move
vote.
the timetable.
because there's nothing that
Up
says we
to,
can't remove the 45-day moratorium.
Yeah.
That-
Right. Because we could vote at the next council meeting.
To get rid of the moratorium. Yeah.
But we would all have to give our commitment to meet here, what'd you say, Tuesday, to give us the 14 days before the June meeting?
You would have to trust him.
You'd have to trust us to meet here Tuesday to do it, the first read.
To lose the moratorium?
No,
Get rid of it?
Then the
no.
moratorium, the minute we vote for the ordinance, we would vote to lift the moratorium, which would be June the 6th. At our regular council meeting, that's when we would vote to approve the ordinance. And at that point in time, we could also lift the moratorium.
If you guys are willing to commit to lifting the moratorium, I don't agree with the moratorium at all.
I'll lift
I've
it.
already made that abundantly clear. I don't agree with it. So I'll do, if the moratorium is gone by June 6th, then I'll be happy to retract my vote and take my nay away.
Now, we do that, does that give you enough time? Look at your calendar.
No, that's good. I'm good.
Can it be shown by June 6th? It can be approved, the resolution,
Let's do our math one more time.
Make sure that if we meet Monday night or Tuesday night, whatever, would that give us 14 days?
We advertise in the morning, get it in the newspaper. All right, Friday, we have it advertised everywhere here. Have a, what'd you say, Monday meeting, is what you said. And then we'd have
That'd be the first read, that'd be the public hearing, and first read.
7/14, the 14th day is June the 6th.
And that would be our regular council meeting.
And it would be approved then.
And we could approve it then.
And then that would kill the
Then
moratorium.
we would have to, no, it wouldn't. We would have to.
It
we
had to
would
be a
have to
separate
vote.
agenda item.
It'd have to be on there for a resolution to end the moratorium, a resolution to end the moratorium, would have to be on that council meeting. And then that way, we vote for the ordinance, the ordinance passes, then we vote to lift there would be, if the ordinance passed, then there would be no reason to have a moratorium.
I'm satisfied with that.
If this council did something in 2 weeks, I
Boy.
could celebrate, man. Maybe we need you more often, Todd, to speak up. So, but he's got to do whatever you tell him to do for us to be able to do that.
He's got to agree to withdraw his nay and vote for the,
You're going to have to withdraw your nay and vote yea.
I will withdraw my nay and vote yes.
okay, so that carries. Correct, sir?
Yes.
So Monday night, we will have another call meeting.
Okay, what time now? 6:30, it has to be 6:30 Monday night?
Okay, sir, got that?
Is it
Can you
earlier?
run
Can we
that
do it
in?
at 5?
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not in charge of the advertising department.
Can we do it?
Yeah.
Uh,
They got it in there the next day.
Okay, what time Monday on the call meeting?
I call Cindy.
It's 5 o'clock, okay?
If it's legal,
5 o'clock next Monday?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And we could also, I might add there, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if Wayne wants to get our answers to these questions, I mean, we could also have that on hand.
Okay. Okay, that would be good. You got that, sir? Advertise it.
Is any portion, I know that some areas that we refer to as Temple around here in Harrelson County, right?
Right.
But is any of the city limits in Harrelson County?
Yes.
But none of the subdivision.
Yes, we have part of the subdivision in
No,
there.
None of them we're talking about.
Not,
No,
not
no,
talking
no,
about.
not what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I still want to include that, just in case.
Now, are you gonna name the subdivisions in the ordinance?
No, because what if we have more subdivisions?
Yeah, there you go.
What if we have another financial crisis?
Okay. Okay, I hear a motion we adjourn.
Yes, sir. I make a motion.
Got a motion, Mr. Bracknell, to adjourn. Here's a second. Second by Mr. Walden. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Kristen, I have my copy signed. Wherever it is. Steve, you gonna be in there in the morning?
Yeah.
Your signature there, dear, and that will be